Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160, in Earth 1610. I'm Zach.
And I'm John, and my cat Percy is also here to say hi.
Yep, if you heard a little rumble in John's mic, that was Percy saying hello.
And he's biting on the cords.
Oh, he loves
I told
that.
Zach before we got started I needed to get a spray bottle.
And I said he would be a good boy.
Yep.
What's up, John?
Not much. What's up with you? Just got back from golfing.
Yeah, it's 9:41 at night, and John was out.
Oh, we had a late round.
Hitting balls.
But you know, something funny did happen that I thought, maybe the pod listeners will think this is funny. I was out golfing with my buddy Donnie, and he said we were just joking around about like our shots, and it was like, what's the plan? And he was like, attack the pin. And it of course made me think of the funniest line in any Marvel movie ever, which is what, Zach?
We need a plan of attack. I have a plan.
I have a plan. Attack. Yeah, so it made me think of that. I kind of laughed to myself. But how's your day going?
Dude, my day is going pretty well. I actually got a sweet deal on a Groupon. So there's this experience that takes you to the Titanic that's normally $250,000.
Oh my gosh.
It's 300 today, baby.
Oh man, well done.
Yeah.
Oh man, gosh. It's hard to laugh about that without, of course, saying like how incredibly like sad it is that you know all that's happening. And let's go to a happier note. What else? Let's make jokes about this stuff. Where's Elon Musk when you need him? Shouldn't he have been able to save these people?
This is going to send us down another stupid internet story of the day rabbit hole. But did you see he's trying to like box Mark Zuckerberg for some reason?
I think if that happened, I think Elon Musk would get beat up pretty good. Mark Zuckerberg strikes me as the type of person that like knows how to do those like jinjitsu things, and he's probably like terrible at it, but that's probably good enough to beat Elon Musk up pretty good.
Yeah. I feel like he would have like a personal like at home judo sensei.
Mark Zuckerberg? I'm
Yeah.
like sure that he does.
Or
and
what's
did you
the one?
see Andrew Tate said he'll train Elon Musk?
It's a real
I don't know
who's
how
who
to
of
do that from a Romanian prison.
it's a real who's who of the worst people.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't like that I'll care about anything Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg are doing, but I'll like tune in to watch two billionaires just beat each other up for a little bit. Like that could be fun.
If you put both of them in a cage, I'm rooting for the cage.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be fun to watch them both get beat up. I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, no, probably not.
What else happened this week that I was going to talk to you about? Oh,
dude, nothing good. Whatever it's about to be, we're gonna be touching like on some sore subjects.
No, it wasn't. It was the Secret Invasion show came out. So did you watch that? We can talk about it at the end if you want. But
dude, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm even gonna be an old man who about everything on that front too, because during this like writer's strike and like trying to get, you know, better conditions and pay for the people that work on shows, Disney literally made like the first AI title.
That's
sequence.
what I was going to ask you about. That's actually what I was going to ask you about was
I
what
hate
you thought
that
about
so
the AI
much.
stuff.
Because I wanted to be excited for that show, and now I feel like I don't even want to watch it. Like just as like my
Okay.
little
Let me play
support.
devil's advocate for them quickly. So, because I think it's pretty silly also, you know, I guess what they said was, well, the show's all about like human, you know, being human and not human. So they kind of thought that maybe it fit, which is okay, whatever. Anyway, they did not, if it makes it any better, Zach, they did not just plug in some AI thing and take the result of it. They hired the same video effects company to create them an AI generated like sequence. So I don't see the point of it. If they're going to hire the company anyways, they might as well have them do it. But at least I don't think it's like, instead of paying the normal video effects people, they just AI'd it. I think that they still paid them to do an AI thing. I don't know. It's silly no matter what, but
I think it's a slippery slope for, something that endangers like the whole, just like all creative jobs, and if you lend it legitimacy in this, pretty early on, and you come up with some justification for why thematically it fits the show or whatever, it's just going to make it easier the next time and the next time and the next time until it is replacing jobs.
Well, fortunately, it looks like trash. So it's like been universally panned by every comment I've seen about it.
Right, but so do
if you've
modern...
ever seen like AI generated like scripts, they're just like the worst thing. I don't think that I totally understand that it's a slippery slope. I think luckily AI is not good enough to replace people yet with any type of like good outcomes,
I hope you're right, because I'm kind of terrified of it.
Okay, should we get into the Spider-Manning?
I think we shall, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
We're back. We're back and we're ready for Venom. Because last we saw, Eddie Brock just got on the Venom suit, right?
Well, he touched it. We don't know what happened, but...
yeah, maybe he died.
Guess we're about to find out. Maybe he developed respect for women.
Yes, maybe that's what the Venom suit did for him.
Results may vary.
Maybe. We'll see.
We will.
Maybe the first person that shows up when he's in the Venom suit will be just a woman who's hanging out doing her job, and he won't immediately kill her. Maybe that'll happen.
Now I got to pull up the issue because I definitely thought that was a man.
Okay, I did too, but then later on in the issue, Eddie talks about that woman, and he says he hurt her. So I was like, oh, I guess that was a lady.
How about that?
Zach and I are spoiling the first 2 pages of this issue.
Yeah, well, let me get to it then. So this is written by Brian Michael Bendis, penciled by Mark Bagley, inked by Art to Bear, colored by Transparency Digital, and lettered by Chris Iliopoulos. So Peter has a nightmare of when he became Venom and nearly killed that criminal. And throughout the dream, the criminal's face changes a few times. And at one point, he takes the form of Uncle Ben's killer. And Peter's face also changes form. And for one panel, he becomes Eddie Brock. And he wakes up.
Interesting. And also Peter's in his Spider-Man suit to start, not his Venom suit. So that's how right away, you could be like, oh, this isn't what happened.
Well, and the art style, it's weird. You can tell it's still penciled by Mark Bagley, but it feels like digital. It doesn't feel like pencils. It's kind of glossy. He wakes up in a panic and looks out his window to see that it is storming. And we next see him outside of Mary Jane's window while she sleeps. And he taps on the glass to wake her up and then points at her garage while she gets out of bed. So she opens her garage door and meets him inside it, and they start to talk. And he starts by making small talk about the weather. And she asks him about the black suit and says she saw him on TV wearing it. And he tells her that was a mistake and he's done with it. And I specify that she says she saw him on TV because I think it lends credence to our thought that she wasn't supposed to be on that bus in that one panel. Remember when he was wearing it after he saved Britney Spears? And we were like, was Mary Jane on that bus in the middle of the night for no reason? And I was like, I don't think she was supposed to be, but I feel like someone said, quick, draw her in. So she's in this episode.
Okay.
Yeah, she didn't say,
caught him.
She didn't say, I saw you in that suit from the bus. She said she saw it on TV.
Yeah, you would think she would be like, yeah, thanks for saving me. I was on that bus that you like, because didn't he like stop something from colliding with it?
Yeah, the limo was like careening right towards where her seat was on it.
Yeah, Peter. She just can't get away from this. Like everywhere she goes, she's like almost dying because of Spider-Man.
All these people in New York City, and she's, even when she's broken up with the dude, she's somehow like always in harm's way. I feel for her. And she asks him what's going on, and Peter says, do you miss me? And I'm sorry, he's just such a sad boy in this whole scene.
He definitely is. He even makes the comment like, if you say no, I'll leave you alone. I won't bother you anymore.
It's okay. I'll just go away forever. Yeah. And you know what? Like, I mean, it sucks, but like, I can't hate on him too bad because I know, like, at 15, I was probably the exact same way.
No, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's still.
There wasn't a term for it 10 years ago. We just, like, guys really thought this was, how to play the cards.
Well, I guess I never watched like Dawson's Creek or Gossip Girl or anything, but I'm guessing that this is how they talked, or just very emotional and over directed. Zach's looking up.
I'm thinking,
Zach's trying to find memories of Dawson's Creek.
I'm trying to remember what Penn Bagley's name is in Gossip Girl, because I've watched it as an adult. He is Gossip Girl. Yeah,
I know. I wonder if they had that plan from season 1.
There's no way.
That's what sorry, Percy was knocking stuff off. That's what I've never seen an episode of Gossip Girl, but I have read that like there's no way that was planned from the beginning.
Yeah,
because it's just not possible for it to add up like that.
Dude, Gossip Girl and Pretty Little Liars are like the two chick shows that my wife got me sucked into, and I love them so much, but they're both so messy. Like, Pretty Little Liars is so messy, it should never have been made. It just straight up does not make sense, and the plots that they set up and build to have like flaws on every level, so they just end up making up and ending every season. Gossip Girl was a little bit better, but it was also definitely like that. Like, there are times where he wouldn't have possibly been able to know about something, but then Gossip Girl posts about it, or it's impossible. But all this to say, he probably is the sad boy of that show.
He is. And when I was in college, I was dating someone, and we got into Pretty Little Liars. So I watched the first couple seasons of that, and I was like pretty invested in just wanting to know who A was, because that's what every single episode's about. And the first couple seasons, I feel like it's pretty good. And then later on, I was like, every episode is the exact same. They just don't know who A is, and then they think that they're going to find out at the end, and then it's something happens, and they're like back. Every episode's the exact same episode. So anyway, I stopped watching it, and I feel like I've read about that one, what happened also, but I don't even remember. She like never died, right? She was alive the whole time.
Oh yeah, that ends up happening. I love it. There's always like so many clues.
Spoilers for Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah. There's so many freaking clues in that show. And like, for a while, I was the idiot who was like trying to make mental notes of them and figure it out. And not a single one of them mean anything.
You're paying attention more than the writers.
Truly. That show, I mean, it's insane. I mean, between the plots just not making sense, some of the stuff that they had the actresses wearing, the dialogue and how bad it was, the fact that they had like Like every
teachers dating high schoolers, right? Wasn't that one of them? He was
like teachers, cops, doctors, like every professional man under the age of 30 in this town was dating a 15-year-old. It was insane. It's a crazy person show for crazy people by crazy people, and I loved it.
That's funny. Get us back on track.
Oh my god, yeah. Shit.
Penn Badgley, Peter Parker.
Yeah. So yeah, he's they're making small talk. He says, "Do you miss me?" He does the whole, "If you say no, I'll go away." Mary Jane says, of course she misses him. And Peter says it doesn't look that way at school. And Mary Jane says, "Me? What about you? You're all hopping rides with college guys and Gwen Stacy." And Peter tells her nothing is going on between him and Gwen. And he then asks if MJ is seeing anyone. And she briefly jokes that she's dating Liz Allen before saying, "You wish." And Peter abruptly tells MJ that he almost killed someone. I'm sorry, Zach. I don't think high school boys think, you can edit this out if you need to, but I don't think high school boys think about like lesbian relationships like the way Mary Jane just joked, right? Because wasn't that her joke? Like, that's a joke for like an adult man. Not like a 15-year-old boy. I don't know. I also think that this was with the context of like 20 years ago when he probably wouldn't have thought of like a lesbian relationship existing for any other reason than for to be hot to a man. You know? Like today, if she made that joke, you know, people would think, "Oh no, she really is dating someone else." But back then, it's like it was so clearly like not a common thing. I think he would have immediately fetishized it.
Yeah. Oh, Peter.
Yeah, I think it's helped out by the fact that it doesn't linger too long as a joke.
Yeah, it doesn't linger as long as we just lingered on it.
Exactly. We could move past it if John didn't keep dragging us back.
Well, we can move past it if Zach edits this out.
So yeah, he abruptly changes the subject and says he almost killed someone. So he goes from sad boy to brooding boy. And then he goes back to sad boy and he says, "I miss you so much, MJ. And I swear if I knew what was going on with your dad, I would have been there for you. I wasn't trying to make you feel bad or anything. I would never want to make you feel bad. I care about you. If you would sit me down and tell me about any of the stuff that was going on, I'd be there. The reason nothing is going on with Gwen, the reason nothing will ever go on between me and Gwen, is because I'm not in love with her. And the reason I can't sleep at night and the reason I'm here is because I love you." And so he drops that bombshell, and Mary Jane just says, "I'm so scared. This isn't a normal life, Peter. These aren't normal things. I don't." And then she trails off, turns around, and walks back inside.
And Peter's left standing in the rain, walking away.
Yeah.
Good for you, MJ.
So melodramatic.
Yep.
I love it.
I'm going to tell you about more how I don't like that at the end when we're recapping the issue.
I mean, you have to like it ironically. Like, you have to see that this is like, it's almost like a parody scene.
Okay. I guess if you're looking at it like that, I guess I was thinking, yeah, well, that's kind of how I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, if these were like adults going through this stuff, it would like make sense to talk about this, I feel. But these are like kids that are 1 or 2 years older than the kids your Zach's wife and I teach. And if they were doing this, I'd be like, get it together. Okay. Like, you're 15. Chill. But it's not that big of a deal. Go back inside.
But the funny
Get
thing
out of
is,
the rain.
they don't have that context. Like they are feeling so much higher than us.
I know.
John, do you remember Feelings? So we cut to the Empire State University Science Building, where a night janitor is listening on a portable radio to a talk show caller complaining about the Hulk attack and the Ultimates. I thought that was a nice touch, because we know what she's referencing.
And she's complaining about, like, the Hulk just, like, came out of nowhere and the Ultimates, like, cleaned it up. And, like, who the heck are these guys? And we know from reading that the caller is absolutely right. The Ultimates, like, caused the big mess in the first place.
But it's funny because they're on a radio show that I'm guessing is like a shock jock.
Alex Jones.
Kind of. Yeah. Like, I think in their world, this is like a conspiracy theory of, I bet the Ultimates are behind the thing.
Yeah.
The janitor then discovers a massive bubbling pile of black goo, and the goo develops eyes and a nose and says, "So cold." And the janitor starts asking questions and trying to help whoever's inside the goo. But the goo develops tentacles and a mouth with fangs, and it grabs the janitor and eats them. And we see Eddie Brock stands up naked as the suit morphs and swims around his body. And he has an internal monologue that I'm not going to read because it's really long and not necessary, but I thought was surprisingly similar to Norman Osborn's when the Oz formula drove him mad.
Yeah, it kind of is similar to that. I want to touch on one line. There's like a bunch of panels of him, like, thinking to himself, like Zach just said. And one of these says, "My Frisbee, ... I'll kill you." What is that in reference to? In the home video, did Peter, like, lose his Frisbee or something?
That's the only thing I could think, is that it's
I didn't go back and
call
look
back to the home video.
Okay, that's what I was thinking it was also. I'm thinking maybe Peter lost Eddie's Frisbee or something in that home video.
I want to say I think that does happen. If that's the case, Bendis, you son of a gun, that's pretty good. If not, what were you doing?
It's also, like, pretty silly. It's like, that's like what, like 10 or 15 years ago? Like, it must be because, like, Eddie just watched the video and like,
he's thinking about Peter.
He certainly hasn't been hanging on to Peter losing his Frisbee for 15 years, you would hope.
Right. I think just meeting him again and watching the video and having that suit on, which definitely still has some Peter residue on it, I think it's just bringing him back.
Yeah.
So the suit fully envelops him, and for a second, he looks like Spider-Man in the black suit. And then 2 security guards arrive and start to call for backup, and his massive mouth and large teeth reappear. And at this point, he's fully Venom. And the implication is that he eats them. And the next day in geometry class, it's still raining hard. Peter's spider senses start going off, and he thinks he's going crazy. But then he looks out the window and he sees Venom on the roof of the school. And Peter thinks,
here, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
And talk about this math teacher?
Oh, yeah. Could you relate?
So, yes, I actually can. It's actually really funny, and I think it's like perfect writing by Bendis. So they're sitting there in math class, and this teacher, they're talking about like the Euclidean plane and geometries and whatever, and he's just kind of going on about it. But then he goes, he's like, "You'll be introduced to basic postulates and theorems of geometry. This is pretty exciting stuff." And I'm like, that sounds so much like me when I'm trying to teach something, and I'm just like, guys, this is really exciting stuff. Like, this is cool. Okay, isn't this cool, guys? You know, as I'm like, if you tell the kids it's fun enough times, they'll have to believe it.
Yeah. Hey, how about that? A equals mx plus b every time.
Hey, that's cool. Wait, A equals mx plus b. It's y equals mx plus b.
See, this is why I hated math. What? Okay, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared that I'm thinking of, right?
That is Pythagorean's theorem.
But I'm just saying I was conflating the two.
Yes. A squared plus b squared does equal c squared, and y does equal mx plus b. That's finding a line.
Yeah, isn't it slope?
Yes, m is the slope.
Yeah.
So y is your y coordinate, x is your x coordinate, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept of the line.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm back.
I almost did that when you were reading Peter's entire sad boy speech out. So
That's fair. All right. So
this is exciting stuff, okay?
I know. It's a damn shame that Peter is not focused on this math lesson because he has to go fight Venom or whatever.
Yeah.
So he runs out of the classroom. Oh, sorry. Before that, he thinks to himself, I can't believe I'm such an idiot. The costume has a biological memory. I gave it memories to build on. I thought it just died. And now it's here and it doesn't even know why. So he thinks the suit is just acting on its own behest, trying to find him. And he runs out of the classroom and meets Venom on the school's football field.
And as he's running out of the classroom, I'm sorry, the math teacher had another funny line that I commented on. I told you, I think that this is actually like really good writing from Bendis, because as Peter's running out of the classroom, the teacher is like, I know you guys always ask me, when are you going to use this in the real world? But I think it's more just about how interesting it is. And Zach, when I tell you, and I'm sure Shiloh tells you also, the kids ask a million times, when are we ever going to use this in the real world? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're using it now. You probably won't ever need to know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared in the real world. So
clearly I didn't.
So I think that like this teacher writing is like spot on from Bendis. It's a good little real world touch.
Dude, I was that crappy kid every time that was asking that. And it's like, I don't know what I expected. It's like I thought that by pointing out that none of this matters, like teacher would cancel the lesson or something. No, they just roll their eyes.
Well, and this teacher does say the lessons are more of a philosophical one. And that's not what I say, but I do say it's more about learning the critical thinking skills than knowing, anyway.
I'm sure the kids don't always buy it, but I'm glad you're still fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, he runs out onto before I keep going, is there anything else that the teacher says that's cool?
Yeah, but it's in the next issue.
Oh, good. Okay. So he runs out onto the football field to meet with Venom. And Venom says, you shouldn't have lied to me, Peter. And Peter realizes in horror that Eddie Brock is inside of the suit. And Eddie shows his face for a moment and says, our parents died to create this, and now you will too.
Spooky.
Yep.
Okay, what do you think? Give me your whole review. I've got a couple thoughts about this one. I want to hear about yours before I say mine.
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh, I have a grading
scale
system.
Oh man, yeah. I had one too.
Okay, what's yours? We'll see what's better. Yours is probably better.
We don't know that. I was going to say 7 out of 10 geometry principles that you'll never use in the real world.
That's pretty good. I have out of 10 frisbees that Eddie Brock lost.
Oh yeah. Okay. I can go with either of them. We'll say both and. Okay.
Yep. So do you have like thoughts on it, or you just want to give it a review?
Yeah, I should probably share my thoughts. This was good. I mean, I liked it sounds like the garage scene didn't work for you. I was just in the mood today where, I mean, obviously I got excited talking about Pretty Little Liars. Like I, for whatever reason, was just like sappy for this like
you love the teenage drama.
Dude, it's food for the soul. It's just so dumb, but like so raw.
It is. It is really dumb. I thought that too.
That's okay. Dumb things can be good too sometimes. So there was that, and then I know this is like an Easter egg. This isn't actually meant to carry the story, but I did really like it that the radio broadcast was talking about the Ultimates.
Oh yeah,
thing.
that was great. Yep.
It feels like it brings the world together. It cements that this is the same place and time.
Yeah. So just going through the issue, I thought, Peter and MJ's talk about their feelings. I thought that was pretty meh. It was fine. It was kind of goofy. Like I said, I'd be like, get it together, kids. Eddie talking to himself for as long as he did. Meh. Even you said when you were reviewing it, you're like, there's a bunch of panels of Eddie talking to himself, and I'm not going to say them because they're not important. And it's like, yeah, they weren't at all. They were kind of nonsense.
Yeah, and to be honest, if I had paid more attention to them, I think I may have, because I read them. I just didn't add them to my notes.
No,
I think
you
I would
wouldn't have.
I would have disliked this issue
Oh,
more.
okay. Yeah. They're just all kind of like, Peter, it's something, whatever. Where's my frisbees?
Yeah, when I say that they're similar to the Green Goblin's Mad Thoughts, I actually liked those because I was able to decipher some of them, and they were really abstract, and I got meaning from it. Like you said, these ones are just kind of their surface level.
Yeah. So also Peter has a very distinct look to him this whole issue, Webheads. He's walking around in the rain with his hoodie up, and he does just look like a sad boy. Zach put it perfect as soon as we got into the issue, which I don't really like. So I don't really like his look in the rain the whole issue. The math teacher was the bright spot of this issue for me, along with that newscast talking about the Hulk. And I really just don't like how Venom just immediately eats people when he sees them. I have a soft spot in my heart for these fictional people. And the thing is, Zach, he just eats them immediately. And that custodian had a life and like maybe a husband or a wife, and she just won't come home tonight, and they'll never pay her another thought in this comic. We're never, I doubt we're going to hear on the news, oh man, the custodian, that's so sad. Like she had a husband, it's just like a person that died. And that stuff you can hear, it kind of gets to me a little bit. So I don't like that he just immediately kills people. I know he's like a villain, and that's what they do. And I don't like
super heroics with none of the collateral damage.
I just want it to feel like that was a real person, and their death should be somewhat significant in any way at all. It shouldn't just be brushed past. We should at least hear about it on the news or something like that. And I don't like how Eddie walks around like a gorilla when he's in the Venom suit. So it was kind of a meh issue for me. So I gave it 5 out of 10 frisbees.
You know what's funny is you mentioned something that I noticed that I think kind of worked for me that you didn't like, which was he's got the hood up. And Peter has his hood up, walking in the rain, hunched over, and his hair is like wet and it's long, so it's like over his eyes. And I grew up on emo and pop punk, and that was like, oh, I can relate to this guy. Yes.
That's awesome.
And it went with the sad boy speech. It was just, it's so funny. I can see
Peter was a bit too sad for me this issue.
I can see exactly what the vision was for this issue, like what Peter's going through. I'm like, yes.
It was good. Yeah. It was very real world.
He's listening to a lot of Bright Eyes, which I can relate to.
And also something I know you don't look at, but the title of this issue was Still, which I think is boring, and I don't even know what that is supposed to like mean. So
I actually did notice that, and I'm gonna blow your mind. The title on the next one on the front page is different, but when you open it, the first page again says Still. So I think
it does.
I think that might have been a mistake. I think they named 2 consecutive issues Still.
Well, I think they messed up on the second page of the second one. It's supposed to be called the second issue. Should we get into it? Are we ready?
Yeah, go
Any
for
more
it.
thoughts? So issue 38 is called Father's Pride. And the cover is Venom and Spider-Man fighting. And it's written by our standard creative team. And Peter is back in his basement listening to an old video of his father. And his dad is talking about the history of cancer starting in the BC. And apparently cancer has been around since BC. And then in ancient Greece, it was named by Hippocrates because the tumors that people would get looked like crabs. And the word for crab was carcinoma. And that kind of sounds like carcinoma. So what do you think about that, Zach?
That's interesting. I
thought that was very interesting.
Didn't have a chance to look up if it's historically accurate, but
I assume it is.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the history of cancer to dispute it, but it sounds right.
Yeah. And Peter's dad on the video talks about how his father, so Peter's grandfather, withered away from cancer, and he never wants to have another child. He never wants another child to have their dad die and not know why. And I do think it's funny how like heavy-handed some of these older videos are, like that their kids watch years later. And like the Iron Man one in the MCU, whenever he watches videos of his dad, it's like the same thing. So Peter's dad continues, and he's like, with our new invention, the suit, we were closer than anyone had ever come before. Not Reed Richards, not Tony Stark, not William Marsden, not Alexander Haddo. And who are those last two people? Of course, we all know who Reed Richards and Tony Stark are, but who's William Marsden?
I don't know. My guess is maybe they're real world scientists.
Oh, and Alexander Haddo? That's not a famous comic guy either.
Not as far as I know.
Okay. But Peter's dad says it blew up in their face, and those words are juxtaposed with Peter walking out in the rain in his rain outfit that he's been wearing the past issue, meeting a ferocious-looking Venom face to face. And Peter asks Eddie if he did this to himself on purpose, and Eddie, as Venom, just kind of begins to fight. He's stretching his, like, would we call them tendrils?
Ooh, that's a good word for that. Yeah, because I don't think they're really tentacles.
Yeah. So we'll say he's stretching his tendrils out, and he kind of starts to smack Peter around while Peter just tries to talk him down. And he's explaining that it's just the suit. It's not Eddie. And Eddie yells back, "Our fathers died to create me. Now you will too." And Peter's like, "Yeah, you said that already," which were the last words of the previous issue. And as soon as he said that, I immediately was like, he already said that. And then Peter's like, "You said that already."
Yeah, I thought that was funny too.
And then then Venom like runs at him again, and he's like, "Now you will." And it reminds me of when you're playing a boss in a video game, and they just have these preloaded lines that they like yell at you intermittently, and they just yell the same things over and over again. I don't know if you have that experience with video games, Zach.
Yes, and it's funny that this made you think of a video game.
Why?
Because the Ultimate Spider-Man game for PlayStation 2 is ripped directly from this story in the comics, and I think this is like a playable level on it, is fighting him in the rain on a football field. I wonder if he just
says the same thing over and over
might.
Again. Also, Peter and Venom are fighting like right outside the school. Remember, Peter walked out of math class to like meet him outside.
Yeah, so he's not in his suit.
And I say that because in the next page, Peter kind of gets caught up in all of Venom's different webs or tendrils, and there's just a cut-in of the math teacher saying, "I don't think there's anything more exciting than basic geometry." And I think that's supposed to be talking about like all the different like ways that Peter's tied up in Venom's stuff. It's like a joke. So I told you we'd be back on the math teacher. And Peter's trying to get the situation under control, but he's outside of the school and he's got no suit and no web shooter, so he doesn't really know what to do. And Peter begins to Venom begins to choke him, and Peter uses his big spider strength, and he squeezes the tendrils really hard, and it causes Venom to freak out, and Venom and Eddie like start fighting or something like that. Peter's like getting choked, and then he just like squeezes one of the tendrils, and like then Venom starts like freaking out, and then him and Eddie like kind of start fighting amongst themselves, it even seems, on the next page with like their back turned. And anyway, it doesn't really matter that much.
Okay.
This is a pretty raw amateur pod, so
I see the panel you're talking about. I just didn't realize Eddie was fighting Venom.
I don't know if they are. I don't know. Maybe Peter like smacks him, and you know, it's just not really shown that well. But whatever. And Peter, you know, Eddie and Venom are kind of fighting, and Peter's thinking to himself, like, I still can't tell if Eddie wants out or if he like likes what's happening. And Venom smacks Peter again and growls at him, and Peter's like, okay, well, that's it. I have to show these guys what's up. So, and it's also funny that Peter is thinking to himself, like, man, I only survived this suit because I have superpowers. Eddie's got no chance. He's not even in good shape. and that's just something that if Eddie Brock heard, it would cut him to his core, I think.
Yeah.
It's such a throwaway comment that Peter is like, this guy's a schlub. He's got no chance.
And he's not even saying it to anyone. That's genuinely how he feels.
I know. Yeah. Where am I? So Peter jumps away, and Venom's kind of trying to swing after him. And Peter's like, there's no way that's Eddie controlling the suit. It's just imitating what I did as Spider-Man, because it's like swinging after him. And it catches up to him.
AI.
Peter yes. It could be. I mean, it kind of is, isn't it? I mean, it is. It's just technology that their dads made.
Yeah.
So Peter and Venom begin to tussle on the roof, and Venom tackles him off the building, and they kind of fall through some electrical wires on the street. And Peter thinks to himself how stupid he is for bringing the fight to where innocent people are. But fortunately, Eddie is laying unconscious on the street with like the big mask teeth opened as if it's a helmet, and we can see Eddie's face. And Eddie's like, Peter. And Peter walks up close to him. And then, of course, the Venom mouth comes back and like growls at him. And that's such a rookie move. We all knew that was going to happen. And the Venom suit pulls Peter in, and we get 2 total panels of just blackness. And I actually thought that that's where the issue was going to end.
I did too for a minute, yeah.
And Peter begins to fight with the suit to escape it, and Eddie and Venom are yelling at him that Peter's a thief and a liar. And Peter pleads with Eddie that the suit's killing him, and Eddie's like, I have to. It needs you to survive. It needs you more than me. I can't do it alone. It needs you. This is all your fault. And with one last push, Peter jumps out of the suit, and Venom continues to yell after him, "It needs you." And it makes me like think about the video game boss again. And then Peter smacks him up with a tire, and it's pretty awesome looking. It's very Amazing Spider-Man 2, where he hits that guy with the tire-shaped thing.
Oh, the
manhole cover.
The manhole grate, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, with the hit Venom yelling, he needs you. I know it's not exactly what he says, but it feels spiritually like a callback to his little talk with Mary Jane, where he's like, I need you.
I wonder if it is thematically.
Like, who's being beggy now?
Yeah. This is what you sounded like, Peter.
The irony is definitely lost on him.
Yeah. Okay, so Peter continues to beat Eddie with a tire until the police show up. And Eddie's yelling at him about how he lied to him. And Peter just says, duly noted. And the police begin to just spray bullets at Venom, and Peter jumps out of the way, and the bullets are just kind of being absorbed. And the police kind of just start firing like everything that they have at him. It looks like they're just firing like much like bigger bullets. And then we go back to the video narration by Peter's dad kind of running over the top of the remaining panels. And he talks about looking at the experiment down the road and people being like, why would someone ever do this to themselves? And this is like being put over the top of Eddie, like as a monster absorbing all these bullets. And then he either like explodes and escapes, or he explodes and is just like evaporated. But I believe the Venom suit is just like goo on the ground, right?
Yeah. Which probably won't keep it down forever, but...
Well, and so is Eddie dead? Are we supposed to believe that Eddie Brock has died?
I think at this point it seems like Eddie's dead, because it seems like there's the goo, but not the host, you know?
But he was such a good guy. I just hate it when these characters who haven't done anything wrong are just killed off by these comic book writers.
The college reggae band lost a good fan tonight.
Yeah, the college reggae band scene will pour one out tonight.
He was 10% of their t-shirt sales.
So we end back at Peter at his basement, depressed about his bad Spider-Manning, while his dad gives him some speech that I didn't really understand or read all that carefully. And but it ends with this is how it like finishes. He's like, people aren't going to understand this, but you know what? I can't complain about work all that much, because at the end of the day, I'm just happy to be here and be alive and watch my son get to grow up. And I just love being alive with you, Peter, and your mom, who's also alive. I love her too. All right, take it easy. That's obviously not exactly what is said, but that's what I mean when they're so heavy-handed with these videos.
Yeah, you know, you're not wrong.
And yeah, so it was pretty funny. It was pretty heavy-handed. He does talk about that a couple times. He's like, I just love that I'm going to get to watch you grow up, and nothing can take that away from me. All right, have a good one, Peter. I hope you don't watch this 15 years from now when I've died a mysterious death.
Son, I want you to look straight up. You see those massive towers? My love for you is as permanent as both of those babies.
Oh, gosh. That would really be. Gosh. Actually, you know what I did just think about, though? This comic is after 2001. We're in like 2003 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
the early
Ultimates
issues
were 2001.
Yeah, the early issues had the towers in the background a couple times.
Yeah. Well, I liked this one more than the last one. I thought it was way more fun. Peter has some good jokes about Eddie repeating himself. I don't believe for a second that Peter sprinted out of math class where he could see Venom from the window, and he just walked out of math class over to fight this giant monster, and none of his classmates saw him while he was doing this whole thing.
Okay, I can try and explain this away. Have you seen 10 Things I Hate About You?
No, I actually haven't, but I know it's John Ritter.
Directing or?
No, he's like the dad in 10 Things I Hate About You, I think. Is John
the
Ritter,
dad. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say it's Heath Ledger is like the main. It's Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles.
That must be what I'm thinking. Okay, go on. Simple rules for dating my teenage daughter. That's John Ritter.
Never heard of it.
Okay.
But there's a scene in 10 Things I look at me. I'm just talking about all my chick flick shows and movies. There's a scene in that where Heath Ledger is like trying to sneak out of detention or something, and she's trying to help him, and she like walks into the room and is on the other side of it and is like, hey, look, guys, a distraction. And she just like flashes her bra and he climbs out the window. And I like to think that, like, because we know Mary Jane was in the geometry class.
Do we think that? Oh, okay. Like she's
like doing something ridiculous on the other side of the room, so no one's looking out the window.
That's funny. That must have been what is happening. I'll take that. Mary Jane flashed her bra to the whole class to keep Peter from being seen.
You know, it doesn't have to be that. It could really be any distraction, but if it was that, at least they kept it off the page, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. So let's see. Yep, it was a fun one. Him smacking Eddie around with the tire was nice. So I gave it 8 out of 10. Number of times Eddie repeats himself.
Which really might have been 10, this issue. I'm also going to give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was pretty solid. I liked it a little bit better than the last one.
Nice. Oh man, do we have anything else? That means we're almost done.
I know. Oh, real quick, because we can do this because it's our show. Last week before we started recording, you said Hobie Brown got you in the spirit of punk rock and you started listening to some punk.
Yes, but you're going to be upset because it's not what I was actually going to tell you was the punk playlist I had on. It was just like not punk. I'm going to read you some of the songs and I guess you tell me if this is punk or not. But the way I think of this, I'm like, no, this is like closer to ska than, I don't know. I'll read some of them here.
Ska and punk have some crossover.
I was also listening to an essential ska playlist today. So,
ooh, that's good.
Okay, was it this pop punk mix that I maybe did? No, that wasn't that.
That sounds good too. You know, all of that stuff is my bread and butter.
I know. I don't know. Of course, now I can't find that playlist that I had on. It was bands you've never heard of, like the Ramones.
Yeah. Obscure bands that never have their shirts sold at the mall or Walmart.
Yeah. Okay. It was like the impression that I get from the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, which is great. Zach knows I love that song, and it makes me think of him because he's the one who showed it to me. But like, that's not punk. And then like, My Own Worst Enemy, All the Small Things, like just like this music that I would just call 90s music is on this punk list, which are jams, but I'm like, this isn't punk, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm Just a Kid by Simple Plan. Yeah, it's a jam, but is it punk?
These are like artists that will play punk fests and like we're on Warped Tour at some point and maybe their early stuff would be considered punk, but yeah, you're talking about their radio hits, you know?
Yeah.
The stuff that makes it in movies and commercials.
Yeah. Okay, so we are we done with the Spider-Man issue? Should we move on to our last segment of just extra things that we seem to be in? Let's
move on.
Okay. Those were good issues. Moving on to extra things. Okay, now we're back into punk.
Oh,
were you done? Were you done with that? I didn't mean to interrupt you and stop you. I just wanted to. Zach, I'm trying a little more structure on this podcast. You know.
Yeah, we've been told we lack that.
No, someone actually did write us a very, very nice review that Zach and I are just having fun with. They left us a very nice 5-star review. And they mentioned that we're amateurish and it's raw, but if you like that kind of thing, then you might like this. So we've just been having fun with that. But we do appreciate the reviews for sure. And, you know, especially because some cowards, Zach told me, left us 1-star reviews early on. So it helps bump the rating up to where it, of course, should be.
And we're not mad about the 1-star reviews. We're mad that they didn't say it with their chest and leave a reason why. So
yeah, exactly.
If you think our show is worth 1 star and you don't want to explain yourself, you know, on the internet for everyone to see, that's fine. Tell us where to meet you. Dark parking lot somewhere. We can arrange it.
Leave that comment.
We'll find out, what you don't like about our podcast.
Yeah. Zach and I are big tough guys. Let's see. I do have, I think, something I want to talk about.
Okay.
How rich do you think Brian Michael Bendis is? And I was going to do something fun and Google Brian Michael Bendis net worth and see which of us got closest. And then I want to tell you why I think he should be really rich.
I think as far as comic book writers, he's in the top 1%.
Okay, so when I Google net worth, which we all know is extremely accurate information, what do you think it's going to say?
I think it's going to come down not to what he got paid by Marvel and DC. I think it's going to come down to, does he have royalties on any of these characters? Because I truly don't know. If he is getting any kind of royalties on Miles Morales, it's going to be writing is not going to be his big moneymaker,
Okay, I'm going to guess $4.5 million. Just to put a number on it, and then I'll tell you, of course, why I brought this up, which I'm sure you've already kind of touched on.
I'm gonna undercut you. I'm gonna say maybe $2 million because I'm thinking just writing. Oh, nice.
Okay, and here's why. He obviously deserves way more. Because, like you mentioned, Miles Morales is the biggest thing in the world right now, and that's his. As far as superhero movies go, and that's his character. And I also just learned that he is the one that wrote the Secret Invasion storyline that is now its own TV show. And I'm sure he's written a ton more stuff, that the MCU has turned into a $1 billion thing. I think Kamala Khan, didn't you tell me that he made her? Okay, never mind.
No, that was G. Willow Wilson.
Well, then sorry, but you would just hope he would.
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones. So they're turning his characters into $1 billion properties. You would hope that he would get some sort of a percentage of that, and any percentage of that at all is millions and millions of dollars. So,
well, even if
it's just another writer being stiffed.
Even if he's not getting money directly for just having created them. I know he's helping with those projects as an advisor, and
yeah,
I bet they write a little check for that. Yeah, but I'm going to go on record and say I think all comic book writers and artists need more money. I think we need to do more to take care of the people who give us all these wonderful stories and keep these characters alive.
Yeah, very well said.
And by we, I don't actually mean us. I mean,
I'm not going to pay them. I'm sure as hell not going to buy a comic book.
God,
I have this Marvel Unlimited pass.
Yeah, the businessmen need to figure out how to make our subscription feed all the mouths.
Yeah. I already pay so much for these comic books.
Yeah. So not us, but someone else needs to get onto this thing that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
I want to. We're just having so much fun.
I know we are having fun. It's almost 11 o'clock at night. I don't even feel tired.
Is there anything from our Spider-Verse talk that you wished you had mentioned at the time and forgot to? When we signed off, did you think I wish I had mentioned that?
I wanted to know what bands you were listening to.
Okay.
And then I realized I don't think we ever actually finished Hobie's story.
Well, we also didn't give it a rating, I think I mentioned today, unless we rated it out of 100 Spider-Men.
I think we did that for the movie.
Okay, did we? Okay.
So basically his story ended with, you got the punks on one side, you've got Norman Osborn, Venom, and his cops on the other side. They just kind of run at each other. Hobie, chops Osborn's head off with his guitar. And that's it. He just beheads him with a guitar.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. The president of the United States, Norman Osborn. He
That guy's
like
a legend.
straight up assassinates him with a electric guitar.
And that was the day that we fought back, or something like that. What's it say on that page? That was the day we took back the city or something.
Yeah. Except it really
our
wasn't,
country.
because then they have to keep making more comics for the characters, so they have to keep coming up with, you know, other bad people that fill the power vacuum, and then, hey, wouldn't you know it, Norman Osborn's still alive. But
Well,
it's a
fascism
cool way
doesn't go away, Zach. Okay?
That's true.
You can't cut off fascism's head. It's a metaphor.
2 more tickets, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what would you give that? What would you give that comic?
Story? That was cool. Oh my gosh, 10 out of 10. I loved it. Captain Anarchy, Hobie Brown, like sitting up there yelling stuff. That was like a great little 6 pages.
Yeah, that's a 10 out of 10 for me also.
Yeah.
He's got...
Actually, you know what, Zach? I think maybe on that one, we turned it up to 11.
Ooh.
So I'll give it an 11 out of 10.
I like it. 11 is louder. We got to do 11.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. He really hasn't had any bad appearances until very, very recently. There's an Infinity comic that someone wrote that was just atrocious, and I took a screenshot and sent it to someone, and I was like, it was one single panel that had like 5 cringy like bits of dialogue, and I was like, this is the single worst thing I've ever read. But other than that, he's been golden.
I could see how, like, for him as a character specifically, if you got someone that just didn't understand how to write him and just like didn't understand that like attitude, you know, or like how it would just be awful. You just be like, this isn't punk rock at all. Like,
that's exactly what happened. They got someone who didn't know what punk was and seemingly hadn't read any of his previous appearances, and he all of a sudden talked like a 11-year-old on Fortnite. Like, he was like, bro, that's so cringe.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
You're weak sauce, Osborn. You can't keep up with me. Like, just stupid stuff like that.
That's terrible.
Yeah. That's punk, baby.
Yep. Okay. You got anything else?
I don't. I think it's
What are we reading
time
for next week? What are we doing for next week?
Next week, we are in Ultimate Spider-Man issues 39 and 40.
Issues 39 and 40. And this will be the first time we've stuck with Ultimate Spider-Man for a couple episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I do have one more thing. We did get a comment request to make the YouTube channel cleaner. Did I say this on the last one, Zach?
No.
Okay. Well, I did it a couple weeks ago, and I keep forgetting to say, but the YouTube channel is cleaner now. You've got playlists, you know, everything's titled well, so very easy. And I don't remember who said to do that, but I did it for you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you to Ian Hickey for the music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork. And of course, thank everyone for listening and leaving a review and a comment. You can find us First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else people listen to podcasts, or you can come chat with us and leave us a comment on Instagram at First Read Podcast. Send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com, or you can come on down to our new and improved YouTube channel, First Read Ultimate Spider-Man Podcast at Ultimate Spider-Man Podcast. See you next week, Zach.
See ya.